The trees are down at Mount Manresa on Staten Island after nearly a year of in-court battles and out-of-court events to save them. In one way, the battle could be seen as between developing 250 new townhouses against those who wanted the 15-acre plus land to remain a haven, a retreat, a refuge, and even a breath of spring for those in need of what such a park-like place can offer. I'm Charlie Olson for the Environment TV Weekly News, on location at Mount Manresa on Staten Island. At one time, when it was much larger than its present 15 acres, Mount Manresa was sold in 1910 by private owners to the Society of Jesus, better known as the Jesuits, without much of its trees or land changed in any way. Its 400-year-old trees, that's before the United States of America was a country, and possibly even older according to some people's estimates, are now gone. And the hilly park-like space that recently housed Hurricane Sandy families and was even used during 9/11 is in the beginning stages of being leveled. The Committee to Save Mount Manresa is still doing activities and looking for ways to save any part of it that they can before it is all gone. This is a sad example of nature being destroyed when there were alternatives and still are alternatives. Nearly every elected Staten Island official at the city, state, and federal levels has supported the ideas found and presented by the Committee to Save Mount Manresa. Some of those ideas included the selling of the land to others who would preserve the land as a public park, but first the Jesuits and then the Saville brothers of Staten Island, the buyers, refused to have anything to do with such reasonings. This led the committee to entertain the idea of using eminent domain, or as was done in the building of the Brooklyn-Staten Island Verrazano Bridge, and expressways. What can a community do when it is blocked by unreasonable private owners of such a wonderfully potential public parkland, who refuse to sell the land at the same price, or even at a higher price, back to the community? Under our current law, it is the Jesuits' rights to sell this land to whomever they want, and for the buyer to build upon it as the zoning ordinances permit. But does that make it right? Does that make it beneficial to the community? Does that make environmental sense? The Committee to Save Mount Manresa doesn't think so and is still trying to save what it can. This behavior doesn't make much environmental sense or wise human sense. Our hopes and our hearts are with the Committee to save whatever they can of Mount Manresa and of such other places throughout the world. We're about to go inside these gates and report with Jack Bolembach. He's the president of the Committee to Save Mount Manresa, and Gabriella. She's one of the members of the Committee to Save Mount Manresa. We will see some of the destruction that has been done to this beautiful park-like area and these old trees, these 400-year-old trees, and the devastation that's taken place here.
We're facing the hill that leads up to the summit. Before it is a sign that shows you the Lower Valley, Memorial Walk, Sacred Heart Grotto, and then the view of the New York skyline. I'm Jack Bolembach. I'm a member of the Committee to Save Mount Manresa. I'm the president, and we're formed from Community Board Number 1.
My name is Gabriella Velardi Ward, and I've been a member of the committee for about a year now.
And I just want to bring an update of what's happened since our court date on April 14th. It's the day after Judge Moultrie lifted the restraining order, the temporary restraining order. Saville brothers, who purchased his property, had workmen come in the very next morning at 7:30 in the morning with chainsaws and started cutting down these trees. They particularly targeted the ancient trees and then cut down other trees. This happened over a 3-day period. And the judge, when we went back into the appeal, the judge was really upset that they did that. It showed total disrespect to the community, a total disrespect to the environment, and Saville Brothers has a habit of doing this throughout their business operations throughout Staten Island. We still have an appeal going on. We have an Article 78 appeal. We also have an appeal going on to reverse the Judge Troyer's decision back in November, which gave permission for the sale. We feel due to the fraud that was committed by the Jesuits, where they lied to the community, they collected funding, that that sale should have been permanently disqualified by the Attorney General. He only gave a temporary restraining order until the Jesuits came up with $250,000 to start paying people back. But the Jesuits did commit, the board of directors of the Jesuits did commit, in essence, a crime. They were collecting money, they were secretly planning on selling, and they were telling the public, and this was out all over the place, that they were going to be here for another 100 years. So that's fraud. So we have that case going on, and we have the case going on about Article 78 about landmarking. We found enough discrepancies with the Landmark Commission that why was nothing ever landmarked here? Why was nothing ever considered? Why did nobody come down here and actually set foot on this site and evaluate what was going on here? So that's a big issue. And so we have the law cases still in progress. We are still reaching out to politicians. We're reaching out to Governor Cuomo. We're reaching out to the mayor. And what this should have been done in this site years ago, it should have been a natural designated area, as Jerome O'Donovan, the former city councilman, wanted. We want to try to change the zoning from the R3 to as of right zoning, which gives the builder the right to do whatever he wants without an environmental impact study. We want to change the zoning to at least reflect what's actually here. We wanted to show that it's a natural designated area that should be protected, or if building is allowed, that there be limited building, that they couldn't just go and wholeheartedly come in here, destroy everything, that the building would be limited, and that could be done by downzoning. Or we could have this place included, since it's 203 feet above sea level at its highest point, this glacial hill. We wanted that included in hillside preservation, which is a zoning that was special zoning on Staten Island that protects hillside areas. And this area should have been protected too, but again, under the previous administration, none of this was done. This place was left vulnerable, and the mayor's 2003 task force identify open green spaces suspiciously left this place out. Can you imagine that? 15 acres of pristine landscape was left unnoticed, and it became vulnerable to the builders.
We're in the process now of appealing to the governor, actually, for a moratorium, just to stop with everything that's going on here, so that an analysis, a review, an evaluation of what the facts are, of what's worthy to be saved, of the way this was sold can happen. So we're asking for that also, and check the website for more details if you'd like to get involved in that.
And as I stated earlier, nobody would be displaced here. You're not even condemning any homes or anything. This is still an open green space. So if they use eminent domain or condemnation is the term they use nowadays, for the good of the public, for the good of the 48,000 people in this general area, the mayor could, if he wanted to, and I know he has a plan to build housing, and we're not against housing, but the housing should not be built on pristine landscape. The mayor could come in and create a park out of this, and that's where condemnation would be used. Condemnation would be used for the good of the public, for the welfare of the population. So in this case, it would be a good thing. No one's being displaced. In fact, the animals will come back to live here. Trees will get replanted. The landscape will still be here. So condemnation can be used. That's one of the ways it can be done. And also with the governor. We're hoping that the governor can do something also. And we have letters out to the governor appealing that this place should be saved, and we gave all the reasons why. And on our website, you can read about the history, how we started this March of 2013. And the announcement that Mount Manresa was going to be for sale was in June of 2012. Many of us that are on the committee actually went to Mount Manresa to ask what was going to happen here. We were told, don't worry. Everybody that went there and inquired, were told, don't worry, nothing's going to change here. And we dropped our guard. We believed what we were told. And unfortunately, after Sandy hit, the hurricane, FEMA was located here, so no one thought that Mount Manresa would ever be taken away. It was such a valuable place. And right after FEMA left, at the end of March of 2013, the newspapers announced that Mount Manresa was in contract for sale to a builder. And that's when the community was taken back, and we went out and we started a grassroots campaign to try to save it. But we all lied to. The community was lied to when they were told that the place was going to be here for another 100 years, and they donated money. So there was a lot of fraud committed. There was also a member of the board of Mount Manresa who also worked for Salvo. And we feel that's a conflict of interest. And that's something that's been brought up in court. So you can't have a person who's a member of the board of directors of Mount Manresa who's conducting a sale, who works for the builder, who's associated with the builder who's buying a property. And as Gabriella said before, that this property was tax-free status for over 100 years. And then they turned around and sold it to a builder. Instead of selling it to another non-for-profit where there was a possibility of preserving this land, they went and sold it to a builder who had the intent of destroying the natural scenery here. And that's a crime. That no matter how you look at it, it's a crime. And we are very upset about it. And to come here and know to love this property and walk through it and see what it looks like today, it's absolutely a sin. Well, we don't know when the buildings department is going to grant the demolition permits to the builders, Salvo Brothers. We're doing everything we can to stop that from happening. We also have the current court case, which is coming up, I believe it's in September, beginning of September, for the appeals, for the Article 78, and for the right of the builder, of the Jesuits even to sell this property. And we're challenging the Attorney General's view that once the Jesuits came up with $250,000 to pay the public back for donations, that could be overturned. Now, we feel that the temporary restraining order should have been a permanent restraining order, that there was enough fraud committed to warrant the sale to be abolished. But right now, we're going to wait to see what happens in court. We have court dates that are coming up right now. It's really the obligation of our elected officials to do all they can to preserve it, to come out and actually do everything possible to preserve this place and make this into a public park. And that's what the majority of the population want.